The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome back into the Wicked Weed studio. I'm Tank Spencer, Jeremy Greene, alongside continuing our prep for the NFL Draft. 2021 NFL Draft kicks off tonight, and we will be live for all 3 days of it right here in the Wicked Weed studio starting at 7 o'clock tonight. Don't forget to check out our friends at Wicked Weed at wickedweedbrewing.com. Wicked Weed Brewing, drink different. The 7-round mock draft for the Houston Texans doesn't take a whole lot of work, as they don't have any picks in the first 2 rounds of the draft. They have their first pick at the 3rd round, number 67 overall. And in this mock draft, Levi Onwuzurike falls to them, defensive tackle out of Washington.
And you want to hear the funny thing about that? His NFL comp is Justin Madubuike. A lot of EKs. He's a 3 technique. I will say, since we did this mock, his stock has gone up. I've heard he could go all the way at the end of round 1.
Yeah.
I know the Saints like him. There's a lot of teams that feel like he can be an explosive pass-rushing interior defensive lineman. I'm not as sold on that. I think getting to the – first of all, I didn't see him play in 2020, which always makes me nervous. I don't know what kind of condition he's going to come in. He was always a little slight to me anyway. I see him, his best fit, I see as a 3-4 D end.
Okay.
I think that's the best place to see, because I think he can be a good pass rusher at that size.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much weight this kid can add. I mean, there's no fat on him. And there's some people who have metabolisms and shit that just don't allow them to add any kind of weight ever. And I'm afraid he could be
those people.
Yeah, we have one of those on staff. Really pisses me off.
Screw you guys.
He eats like a long-haul truck driver, and he's still 87 pounds soaking wet.
But this would definitely be a major value pick. I mean, we did a mock draft the other day on the ESPN Asheville show. Check us out.
Today.
ESPN Asheville.
That was today.
Oh, yeah, that was today.
Yeah, that was today.
We've done so much today. It's just crazy. Anyway, check out the ESPN Asheville show, The Sports Tank with Jeremy Greene. Heard everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Anyway, we did our mock draft on that one. He ended up in the first round of the New Orleans Saints. So this would be a great value if he was to fall to the 3rd round. In the 4th round, 109 overall, Malcolm Kuntz, edge rusher out of Buffalo.
I like this kid so much. Very physically impressive. He has a story very similar to Zaven Collins. I think he can be a good pass rusher in the NFL. I think he is a best suited to be a 3-4 outside linebacker, but I think he can do damn near anything. He's so physically gifted and he's so raw. He's just such a natural pass rusher that I don't think it really matters where you put him. 6'3", 250. The one thing I will say is that he can get washed out of place. Big linemen, things like that can take him out of place.
Okay. In the 5th round, there are 2 picks here for the Houston Texans. The first of which, a wide receiver out of Arizona State, Frank Darby.
Hey, have you ever wondered what a track guy looks like playing wide receiver?
Is this it? This is Justin
real,
Gatlin 2.0?
Yep. He is real MF and fast. And his hands suck something awful. You could soak him in water and put him in a freezer and he couldn't catch a cold. 10 drops on 77 catchable targets. Here's what he can be. He's going to be really dynamic as a return guy because he's super shifty, super fast, and on a 9 route, he's hard to defend because he can track a ball. The only problem is sometimes he tracks it and it just goes, oh, I was supposed to catch that. Well, shit. Let's run it again.
So this is not really the savior of the wide receiver corps.
Oh, hell no. You're not going to get many saviors of anything when you gave up your first 2 picks.
This is true.
You gave up 2 picks in the top 35 and could have had a better player with the first one than you got with all of them put together.
Yep.
Sorry, Houston. Houston, you have a problem.
At 158 overall, Isaiah McDuffie, linebacker out of Boston College.
I think this is an immediate day 1 special teams contributor. Some of the tape on him, especially this year, was hard to watch. I think he got asked to do things at Boston College with Jeff Hafley coming in, different kind of defense. I just don't think he fit it. He's a little on the small end, 6'1", 225. but I think he can be an immediate contributor on special teams. Very hard-nosed guy, closes well, short area quickness, just not much of a coverage guy. I think tight ends will eat him alive. Might be able to stick as a, zone against slot receivers, but it's not going to be much more than that.
Mm-hmm. 3 guys that will help the Houston Texans achieve the first pick in the next draft. In the 6th round.
He said that, not me. When you tell somebody to die in a fire, make sure you tank Spencer, T-A-N-K.
At Sports Tank ESPN on Twitter. Hit me up. I will take all the Houston Texans barbs that I can. 195, Jacob Harris, the tight end out of Central Florida.
Yeah, this is a guy. This is the only player, to my knowledge, that has talked to every team in the NFL in the pre-draft process. 6'5", 210, played wide receiver at Central Florida, but a lot of teams see him as a Darren Waller conversion from receiver to tight end kind of guy. I mean, he's going to be a move tight end. I like the hands on this kid. He had 8 touchdowns last year. He was never graded really highly as a receiver, but I think he could be this is a guy that could go much higher than I think he's going to. Or teams could think he's the cream of the undrafted free agent crop.
Right.
I really don't know. I know there's a lot of teams that really like him.
Well, that
drop rate was stupidly high, though. 23% drop rate.
Yikes. That's not good.
The funny thing is he's a good receiver.
Yeah.
When you watch the tape on him, I don't see bad hands. I saw more, not necessarily catchable balls than I saw just drops, but what do I know?
But you think they could transition him into being some kind of this modern tight end that is just a piece that
I think it's a mismatch. And that's where I think his future is in the NFL. Because he's too big to be guarded by a slot corner. He's too fast to be guarded by a linebacker. And safeties are they're going to have both problems. He's too big and too fast for them.
Mm-hmm. At 203 in the 6th round, Sean Davis, a safety out of Florida.
Coverage is a weakness for him. This is a box safety, in my opinion. Had a lot of missed tackles the last 2 years. 21 missed tackles the last 2 years at Florida.
That is a lot.
But he goes for the kill shot, and that's the problem with him. The grades on him, if you take away one, and coverage, obviously. He's not a deep safety. He's not even a split field safety to me. This is an in-the-box guy.
Okay.
Missed tackle rate was almost 20%. That's the one thing. That's what's going to push him from being a 4th rounder to being a 7th rounder.
Right. Last pick in the 6th round, 212 overall, Drew Dahlman, center out of Stanford.
Fantastic run blocker. One of the best run blocking centers in this draft.
Okay.
Not much of a pass blocker. My fear is that nose tackles in the NFL are just going to work him like a speed bag. And which is weird because he's built perfectly. His technique's good. And he's very nimble. There's just not a lot of bulk to him. Now, that being said, this is a guy that I could see getting into a legitimate NFL strength and conditioning program, bulking up, getting a little of the heft to him, and becoming a really solid starter in this league.
Well, their quarterback situation with the Houston Texans is a little up in the air right now. It's a tad bit sketchy. They got Tyrod Taylor, so he'll be able to start some games. Ryan Finley's on this roster as well. And let's add Sam Ehlinger. Why not? Extremely efficient quarterback in college. However, he's not a guy that I can see being any kind of a useful piece in the NFL.
There's nothing special about him. He tries to scramble too much. He's not a good enough athlete to do that in the NFL. But he just strikes me as a guy that makes poor decisions so rarely that there's going to be a value to that.
Okay.
I mean, you remember Colt McCoy was as athletic as a wet fart, and he has managed to last in the NFL for a decade.
You're not wrong.
Sam Ehlinger's more athletic than that. He's bigger than that. He has a better arm than that. There is a merit to, hey, I just don't ever turn the fucking ball over. Like, ever. I don't ever make bad decisions. I don't force things. I stay within myself. This is a guy that threw over 1,200 passes at Texas. He was picked off 20 times. Ever.
Yeah.
And half of those were in one season. Passer rating was always over 100. I just think there's a merit to him somewhere in the league. The tape went down a little bit last year. This is also the first year he hasn't had a draftable wide receiver at Texas. So I do think those two things are related. He's going to go in the 7th round-ish. He'll be late day 3. But I think a team's going to look at him and go, you know what, he just doesn't make mistakes that often. And that's saying a lot because he's not afraid to attack. This is not a dink and dunk quarterback. He'll still press. He just doesn't make that, oh, God, what was that throw?
Right.
He's the exact opposite of Shane Bichelle.
Okay.
Shane Bichelle will attack, and sometimes he throws one and you go, oh, sweet Jesus, what did you see right there?
Right.
Sam Ehlinger never does that.
So he could be a long-time backup.
I think he can be a long-time backup in the NFL.
Right.
I don't think he's ever going to be a starter. You don't really ever want him to get into spot duty.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if your quarterback gets hurt and you need somebody to come in, he can be that guy. And in the 7th round, I don't think you can ask for much more than that.
All right, the Houston Texans ended up with, back end of the draft picks here. Traded away the picks at the top of the draft, the Laramie Tunsil deal. Obviously, you just got to do the best you can, move on. And I think they've set up this roster perfectly to line them at the top of the draft next year for an immediate impact player. I'm Tank Spencer. He is Jeremy Greene. We'll be live all 3 days of the NFL draft right here in the Wicked Weed studio. We're glad you are along with us on the ride here. Hit that subscribe button and get all of our 7-round mock draft videos, team by team. And don't forget to join us all 3 days, hanging out here in the Wicked Weed studio for the draft. We'll
259 picks. We'll do them all.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.